500 pieces of content in 14 months. Every type of post you can think of: carousels, reels, talking head, value bombs. I did it all. How many clients came from it? One. Then one change, not a new tactic, not a new funnel, not a new platform, but one change in how I saw myself and what I was actually building. And after 10 days, 15 new clients, that produced $75,000. If you're someone with real expertise, 10, 15, 20 years of experience, and you've been grinding on content, buying programs, trying to build this thing on the side, and it's just not clicking, stay for the next hour, because we're about to break down what we're about to break down might explain why, and it might have nothing to do with your work ethic, your skills, or whether you're cut out for this. My name is Ryan Baker. I spent 20 years at Verizon, including leading digital product strategy for companies like Apple, Amazon, Samsung, and Google. And the guy next to me is the person who actually helped me see what I couldn't see on my own.
Yeah. So if you're watching this right now, yeah, I'm gonna say that the next few things that I'm going to let you know, it, they're gonna make sense for you. So again, you're someone who has real experience. You've led teams, probably managed multi-million-dollar projects, even billion-dollar projects, right? And people come to you when things break or when they need to get something done. You're able to go home, open the laptop, and kind of suddenly feel like a beginner in your make money online endeavors. Or hey, I'm planning to walk away from this, but I need to go build up my following and do all of these things. Like, you're literally watching 23-year-olds have YouTube videos talking about, I made $80,000 last month for the last 6 months, right? And you're like, why can't I figure this out? You're buying courses, maybe masterminds, maybe two, maybe five. You're posting content. um you've definitely tried the funnels. You've probably even heard something talking about that you're one funnel away, and it gets all down to the point where maybe it's like year one, year two, year three, and you're like, man, maybe I'm not built for this. If any of that sounds familiar, I'm telling you right now that you're going to want to stick around for this, because you know if you can hold on over the next hour, we're going to be able to put you in a different place, a different mindset when it comes to thinking about those things. So with that, imagine this. Imagine waking up and you don't have to psych yourself up to show up online. You're not performing. You're not playing some character. You're definitely not doing TikTok dances, because that's not what we're about at all. Your business is built on what you already know. It's positioned in front of people that are already looking for it. So again, your business is built based on things that you already know, and you know them well. You have a certain level of confidence in them, and it's done in front of people that is the missing piece to their puzzle. So they are not only excited, but they're motivated to get to know you, to see how you guys can be able to work together. And lastly, when the phone rings, it's someone saying, you're exactly what I've been looking for. What do I need to do for us to start working together? So just know that that's not a fantasy. Ryan's lived it. I've lived it. As of recent, we've actually helped other people live a very similar reality. And we're going to be walking you through that today. And we're going to show you exactly what you can change in order to kind of have more of that be true for you overall.
Yeah, I'm not someone who had it figured out from day one. I spent 14 months pretending to be something I wasn't. And that shift that produced the 75K, it didn't come from a new tactic. It came from finally being honest with who I actually was and what I was actually good at. Everything I'm sharing today, I lived.
Yeah. And on my end, it's been over 10 years now at this point since I walked away from my 12-year Air Force career. And it's been six figures in five different industries: digital marketing, direct sales, high ticket closing, coaching, even independent insurance adjusting. And, one thing that I would say with all of that is that every time something worked for me, it was because I stopped following someone else's playbook and I operated from a place of alignment. On top of, like Ryan said, coaching him through, being kind of stuck and not knowing what to do next with this really, really great thing that he had in his high ticket coaching program, and just getting everything aligned in a way to where it was 75,000 in 10 days. And, so you're hearing it from the person who's lived it and the person that's guided not only himself through it, but also Ryan through it as well.
LD, you hit on it. You were able to switch between multiple different things, and over the course of that, make over six figures at each of them. Can you break that down for us and how you're able to do that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So when it came to all of those switches, one thing that's always led me is just if I keep a good mindset and good energy around things and I see an opportunity for myself, then that gives me the best chance of making sure that I'm not in something that just won't work out. And even if I switch from five different things, it wasn't always a negative switch. It was more like, hey, all right, I came, I saw, I conquered. What's next, right? But what I kind of unknowingly did in the past was I would choose things that kind of had some level of alignment with me already, so I could see the opportunity and see, hey, well, maybe this would be good for me, right? And like for example, direct sales, it was with a travel based company, and I love to travel and I love being around big groups of people, right? And some of you guys are probably like, you like that? It's like, dude, yeah. Like, but I'm also kind of like the fun life of the party, the guy that will see people sitting in the corner, and I'll be the person to go over there and talk to them and bring them into the group and everything like that. And here's what I realized is that every time I did something significant, every time that I made six figures in one of those endeavors, there were people in my network that got inspired by that, right? And that motivated them to want to go kind of take action and in their own life, whether it was, various things, right? But the overall point is that when they did it, they weren't looking for alignment. All they saw was I went in and I made this vehicle work. So if it worked for me, it can work for them. And most of my friends are nothing like me. It's kind of a yin and yang type of thing. So I think that that's the biggest thing to take from this. It's like I went into these things looking for how could this align with who I am? How could I have fun doing this, right? In a super simple way. Back in early 20s, early 30s. How can I have fun doing this and make money? Where my friends and family, they may have looked at it like, oh man, he made it work, so maybe I can make it work as well. So I was chasing alignment, whether I realized it or not, and they were chasing a vehicle. And that's, a lot of times why things ended up working out for me and not for them. But for a lot of them, when they went around, and Ryan remember me talking about the young lady who got into publishing books with one of our mutual friends, right? So she was a part of things early on, and look what happened. Like she found something that aligned with her, which it really does, knowing her and her personality type, and it took off. And she's working with some of the most notable people in the industry overall. So it's like maybe she learned that lesson in the front end, and then she focused more on alignment, and now things are in a completely different place for her. So hopefully that kind of answers it. Does it, Ryan?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, sweet, man. So I would say this, man. Here's what we discovered, and again, like this thread runs through everything we're going to be talking about today. Most people who are struggling to build a business aren't struggling because they lack talent, skills, work ethic, or anything like that. They're struggling because every program, every, expert online or guru, every YouTube video has told them the same thing. Here's who you need to become. Again, it wasn't about alignment, it was about vehicle. And in order to drive this vehicle, you need to become this type of person to drive this vehicle. In order to be good at network marketing, direct sales, real estate, like selling insurance, selling financial services, you need to get good at lead generation, getting in front of people, belly to belly, never eat alone, all of these different things where you would have been much better off as a software developer, where you're able to sit there and just type on your computer, do your thing. Or maybe it was day trading, right? Because I have a lot of close friends who are more introverted, that they love being able to go do their thing in the market, jump out, do whatever they need to do, and they don't have to necessarily talk to anyone, right? So, you know, one of the things that, like, we need to really understand is that most of these people, most of you guys, like, you're smart, experienced, capable, and you'll spend years trying to become something that you're not. And when it doesn't work, you won't probably question the actual model, but you'll question yourself. And there, I haven't always chosen the right opportunities, and that was one of the first questions that I had related to it was, man, did I make the mistake in choosing this? Like, I'm just not good enough for this, or I couldn't get over that hump. And you know, I'll tell you this, the discovery that changed everything for us was super, super simple. We stopped trying to become someone new. We took inventory of what we already knew, who we already are, what our expertise is, what the competitive advantages are, what are our values, what are the constraints that we have, and we built from that. So Ryan didn't go from posting 500 times over 14 months to making 75K in 10 days because he learned a new skill. I promise you that. If anything, he would come to me saying, maybe I need to learn how to do this better and that'll help. And I was like, no, you already know how to do a bunch of stuff. We need to go do that. Right. So he just stopped hiding the skills that he already had. And honestly, I don't even like the word hiding. It's not like he was aware, like, oh man, I have this super, super valuable stuff and I'm just going to, put it behind my back and learn something new. It like he didn't know what he didn't know. He knew that there were plenty of corporate companies out there paying for, product management and strategy and operations and all of those things, but he didn't understand how that could actually translate into the online space where he'd be able to churn out six figures and everything like that. So Ryan, when I say, that, like, stop hiding skills that you already had, like, I don't know if people realize, like, you literally had Apple, Amazon, and Samsung on your resume, and you were making posts about like generic business tips. Like, can you kind of make that make sense, or at least where your mindset was in that specific moment during those times, man?
Yeah, I can do that. And let me just say, when you say it like that, it does sound absolutely ridiculous, but that's exactly what I was doing. I had the 20 years of experience. I had done so many things in my career, and it ultimately culminated in leading digital product strategy. So I worked for Verizon with companies like Apple, Amazon, and Samsung, like you said, some of the biggest brands in the world. And I was sitting in my home office making posts about 5 tips to grow your online business. It was generic content that literally could have come from anybody. And the crazy part is that I didn't even see it as hiding. I thought I was doing what you were supposed to do. Like every guru, every course, every YouTube video said the same thing: build a personal brand, create content, show up every day. Like literally, if I had a dollar for every video that said if you do that for a year, you'll be a millionaire, like I wouldn't be needing to sit here. I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now doing this. So those are the things that I did, but the content had nothing to do with who I actually was. And I stripped out everything that made me different and replaced it with what I thought an online entrepreneur was supposed to sound like. So I was basically cosplaying as a content creator when I already had a resume that most people in my space would have done anything for. And nobody told me to stop, because the entire industry is built on getting you to become something new instead of deploying what you already are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And one caveat with the online space is, you know, there are very little rules when it comes to decision making, right? And this is one of those critical life areas that when you get better at this, like, everything else gets better. But it's one of those things where we don't know what we don't know. But the flip side of that is, most of us aren't necessarily putting ourselves in a place or around people that can help us make quality decisions in the onset about these specific things. So, like you just said, and I would agree 100%, it's like, for years, like, we did what everyone told us to do, like, whether it's in these short reels, whether it's in YouTube videos. Hey, if I wanted to go and create a six-figure income over the next 90 days, this is what I would do, right? Or if you want to go make 2026 your best year, go do this. And all of those types of videos, where they are helpful to some degree, they lean into us just kind of following whatever they said, because they have the results, they have the credibility and all of those things. Where I'm not saying to not listen, but what I am saying is we need to keep everything, like, close to the chest so that we're not just out here wildly following followers who are following followers. So it usually sounds like this: find someone successful, copy the model, grind until it works. That was the playbook right there. Ryan did it. I did it across multiple industries. Like, we both bought in hard. Like, think about it. I knew nothing about insurance, right? And I literally became an independent insurance adjuster off of like a 3-day class. It was a 3-day in-person class. And that turned into me going to Las Vegas to this conference. And that turned into me meeting the who's who of the industry. Ended up getting my company a few contracts for like hurricanes and wildfires, all of that type of crazy stuff. And over an 18-month period, it was upwards of $250,000 on something that I did like from a 3-day class, right? And one part with that wasn't necessarily in there was like, hey, this is really a seasonal thing. So this is not something that you just kind of hold on to. And um it's like when it's working in the front end, you bite down even more. But as things start to slow up, or as like work is not coming along as quick as it normally would, clients are not doing this, or the contracts aren't coming as quick, it's like you start to like think about it. You're like, basically, when it doesn't work, you don't question the model, you question yourself. Like, why am I not getting more contracts? Contracts are still there, but they're coming less and less to me, right? So um you know when I look back at your story, Ryan, and I just remember those ask me anything calls that I would host on, I think it was like Monday and Wednesday. um it was in those calls where, even though you didn't want to be a content creator, you still figured out a way to kind of put a system together to kind of get through those things, man. And I remember when you finally started telling me about your background, and I would say I kind of apologize a little bit right now for never really asking, right? It was more like I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing in that moment. But when I asked about your background and you started telling me about all of this stuff, I got mad at you that day. Not like seriously mad at you, but I was like, what are we doing with this master resale right stuff? Like, you got the juice right there, man. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where um like again, you didn't need to learn a new skill. Did you need to pick up micro skills? Sure, right? But that's anyone. And I think that if you do that in a structured and efficient way, it allows you to not have to let, oh, this mountain of skills like copywriting, digital marketing, all of these things, it shouldn't be a mountain. There's ways of leveraging tools in order to get those things squared away. But again, we have to keep everything tight to the chest when it comes to like those root skills that you have, man. So again, if any of that sounds familiar with anyone, like the grinding, the performing, the feeling like maybe you're just not built for this, like stay with us, because what we're about to walk through might explain, and it might explain why, and it might not have anything to do with you. I'm gonna be honest, like it really won't have anything to do with you. So Ryan, I kind of talked a little bit about your story, but be real with me, man. Like, when you were in the middle of posting every day, like you were on number 300, 400 like posts deep, and the numbers just weren't moving. Like, did you ever sit there and think like, I'm just not built for this? Like, what was that voice actually saying to you?
Yeah, it was every single day, and it wasn't a quiet voice either. It was in my head, but it was loud. Yeah, being 300, 400 posts in and not seeing results. I'm watching people around me who started after me getting results, and the voice is saying, "You're not a content creator. You're not built for this. You're not. You had a good thing at your career at Verizon, and you walked away from it. What were you thinking?" And the worst part was the voice felt rational in the moment. It felt like an honest assessment, like based on real evidence. I had the data, right? I had hundreds of posts, barely any traction. One client that actually I could trace back to the content. So the logical conclusion was I'm not good enough. And that's again what the data seemed to say. But here's what here's what I know now that I didn't know then. The voice wasn't telling me that I wasn't built for entrepreneurship. it was telling me that I wasn't built for that version of entrepreneurship. I wasn't built to be a content creator grinding out reels every day. That wasn't who I was. But I didn't have that distinction at the time. And I just heard you're not enough. And I believed it because when you're wearing a costume that doesn't fit, imposter syndrome isn't a bug, it's the signal. It's your identity telling you that something is off.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, that feeling that Ryan just described, that voice telling you that you're not built for this, it's not just us. And, there are plenty of people out there. And you guys know that in Liftoff Live, in all of this, we go through Reddit and it's so easy to find people that are literally just posting on Reddit and just telling how they're going through all of this in hopes that some random person somewhere replies back with some level of a solution. So we're going to reply to some of these. So let's go ahead and kick it off, Ryan.
All right. The first Reddit story for today is titled 39 Female Completely Lost After Leaving Corporate. So, this is a 39-year-old woman who left her corporate career. Since then, she's tried freelance writing. She couldn't make it work because of AI competition. She pivoted to LinkedIn ghostwriting and couldn't figure out where to get clients. Now, her plan is to get certified as a nutritional coach and grow an online following to launch my own business. So, every single move she's made has taken her further away from what she actually did in corporate.
Yep. And when you look at her focusing on writing gigs, and then I'm going to assume as a nutritional coach she's probably really into nutrition, fitness, and that type of stuff. At 39, I don't think that she's super excited about creating content and building a following in that way. I think that she's looking more into alignment, where if I was looking at this through the lens of like helping her write on the spot, I would ask her, why did you pursue the writing things? And then why did you move away from them? And I have a feeling that she's likely more of an introvert and she enjoys writing, but she struggled with traffic leads and sales when it came to doing it as an actual business. And then there were slight mindset issues that spoke towards, oh my God, AI competition, where if anything, she should have become an AI enabled writer, which would have helped her to pump out significantly more high quality projects versus seeing it as competition. So, if she was in Liftoff Lab, I'd want to revisit why she you know got into writing in the first place. I'd want to know what types of writing actually excite her, give her energy, and then I'd want to look at who does she like serving with that skill, and we build out some level of a packaged offer around that, and look at what adjacent audiences we could get her in, so that when she stepped into the room, there's 20, 50, 100, 1,000 people in that room that are looking for someone with her temperament, that shares her values with her skill set, so that she can immediately be valuable to those people right then and there. So I think that that's it. It's clear, like, she's clearly smart. um you don't survive in corporate without real skills. Like, every attempt was, an attempt for her to become something new instead of building on something that she already has. You know, again, she might be 30, 60. I would say she's 60 to 90 days from from like making her first $10,000 in writing, because it's just, you could have water in abundance in Walmart, and you can have water, you know, at a music festival. I don't know if you know, Ryan, but water at a music festival, it's like $15 for like a bottle of water, bro. Right.
Sounds like
And
a beer at a concert. I'm familiar with
it,
that one.
yeah, basically, right? Basically, we're here in Paraguay, a beer is like 50 cents, bro. You can get a beer here for 50 cents, but at the concert, like you said, $15, man. So, Ryan, what do you see here with her situation, man?
Yeah, this one hits close to home because I see the exact same pattern. She left corporate, which means, like to your point, she had real skills, real experience, something that was valuable enough that somebody paid her for years to do it. And the first thing she did when she left was abandon all of that. Freelance writing, LinkedIn ghostwriting, nutritional coaching certification, like each move takes her further away from whatever she was good at in corporate. And I did the same thing. I had 20 years of I was in for 20 years, and instead of asking who needs what I already know, I went chasing entirely new vehicles, MLMs, real estate, affiliate marketing, and then content creation to push master resell right products. So every one of those was me trying to become something new instead of deploying something that I already was. So what I would tell her, and what I wish someone had told me a lot sooner, is that leaving the building doesn't mean leaving behind everything you learned inside it. Your corporate experience isn't something that you escaped from. It might be the most valuable thing that you own, and you just need someone to help you see it that way and really like tap into it in an aligned way. Because I think that the biggest thing for me, it was like a subconscious thing, is that I felt like if I went back in the direction of the things that I was good at in that world, that it was me going back to that world, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, another angle with her skills, and I'm just making the assumption that like she enjoys writing, and um when you look in the high ticket space, she could also be a fractional head of content where she's jumping on a Zoom meeting with, let's just say that she has, 10 clients and each of them pay her $1,000 a month, right? Or let's just say 20 clients. Each of them pay her $1,000 a month. And she jumps on one or two calls per week with them. And she just helps them to flesh out ideas. Because if you're going to be a ghostwriter for someone, that's great. But by you being a fractional head of content, you're able to go into other people's agency, other people's businesses, and actually help them in a very similar way that you might have been helping other people in corporate, right? But most people don't even realize that you can be a fractional head of content, right? Because there are people that are doing 20, 30, $40,000 a month. They don't want to bring you on as a head of content because one, they can't really afford it yet, but they would love to be able to jump on a call with you once or twice a week and flesh out ideas, or have you flesh them out and then you guys jump on a call and review them. So as far as an action plan, I would say um, there's a three-step plan. I'll always bring you three steps because I just believe that it's going to be one of the easiest ways to kind of get through this. So it's the identity inventory. So um write down every skill. This is step one. Write down every skill people have thanked you for, relied on you for, or come back to you for. Like what people already trust you with. And maybe for her, it might be like, hey, I need you to wordsmith this email so that we can get X desired result, right? And maybe that was her thing. So step two is the pattern finder. Like circle what shows up more than once across jobs, roles, and seasons. Those repeats, right? Who you actually are when you're not performing. Like whatever is repeating, that's who you actually are when you're not performing. And step three is going to be looking at the top three patterns. Like if I built something around this, would I still want to do it on a random Tuesday when nobody's watching? If that's a yes, then that equals alignment. And but if you have to psych yourself up for it, or that equals you putting on a costume, and it's probably not the most ideal thing. I think that even for us, just being super transparent, like I don't mind creating content. I just don't want everything that I do to be heavily dependent upon me having to wake up every day creating content. And I think that is very similar for you, Ryan. But these, like going live and just sharing our perspective in a structured way with the focus of being highly helpful, I think that this works really, really well for us. And we already have plans to be able to crank multiple episodes of this out in like one day, because it's something that doesn't drain either of us, and it's a structured way to be able to help people out there, right? So that's the obvious simplified version when it comes to the action plan. um, the quiz that we have, the link is in the description. It would help with more of this as well. But yeah, so if you want to check that out, that's in there. And we're getting closer and closer to the day of opening up enrollment to Liftoff Lab. If you want to know more details about what it's all about and how you can go from wherever you are right now to being on a trajectory to get to your first or next 20K per month in under 20 hours a week, then you're going to want to jump on that wait list. So either take the quiz, that'll get you on the wait list, or click the link in the description that gets you on the wait list as well. So a couple of things. Mr. Thurman had a really good quote related to all of this. So it says, ask what makes you come alive. Every program told us what the world needs, and nobody asked what makes you come alive. So the quote is, ask what makes you come alive. And in this context, you know, I'm super grateful for my journey. And I'm super grateful for your journey. But I think that if I would have leaned into me being a paper pusher in the Air Force instead of being someone who brings people together, then this would have never happened. Right. Because it didn't happen on one of our regularly scheduled coaching calls. It was on me doing the extra effort of wanting to bring people together, to bring ideas together and everything. So, I don't know if you know this, but I'm ambidextrous and I use my left hand for a lot of things, but it brings up the idea of lefty scissors. They work really, really well for me, but for someone who's right-handed, it's probably not the most ideal situation. Um, Another one is the mislabeled plant. So if there was a farmer and he was pulling out the most valuable thing on his property because it didn't look like what he wanted to actually be planting. So imagine you're literally taking these skills that are amazing, but you're like, well, but I want to create an online business. And you're literally throwing out the things that would be the most valuable overall. And there was a couple of studies out. The Gallup study said that people are 6 times more engaged when using their top strengths daily, and they have a 3x better quality of life. And there was a Harvard research panel that basically came down to leaders who copied other leaders underperformed versus them taking their authentic approach. And that's one thing that you've heard me beat like a dead horse over our time of knowing each other, man. It's like people ask me like, what's your leadership style? Is it military because I have military experience? It's like, no, dude, it's leading with authenticity. I look at previous leaders in my life that I had to follow, whether voluntary or not, and the best of those leaders led with authenticity. And I said that that was going to be something that I wanted to do. And the last thing, which is going to be super relatable to a lot of you guys, is parenting. You don't copy someone else's parenting style word for word, right? So why would you build a business that way? Bingo. So, um, yeah, man. The next part is going to be related to time and money, and I just like to look at this as resources. So, here's what we used to believe, and honestly, it felt responsible at the time, right? Every dollar on a course, every hour learning a new strategy, every weekend building content, this is an investment. And I'll be honest, I love having a positive mindset, and I don't see a lot wrong with that as a whole. But, you know, if you look at Ryan's case, it was 14 months showing up every day. I did the same thing across multiple industries, convinced the next investment would make things click. And that brings up a lot of minutes, dude. Like I had I have a course on drop servicing. Have you ever heard of that?
So
Yeah,
like drop shipping?
right. But instead of drop shipping products, drop servicing was like, hey, I'm going to offer this service and then I'm just going to hire these people to go and do it.
Hmm.
Right. Where's the big miss in this? Drop servicing is nothing more than just project management. That's really what it comes down to, right? And I don't like project management, but I have a 997 course somewhere in a Google Drive, or like the logins are somewhere in my password manager for a drop servicing course. So that just popped in my head, man. But yeah. So a lot of people look at when they've bought multiple courses and things like that, they think about the money side of it, but it's not just the money, it's the time as well. And Brian, we were talking about this a few days ago about a year of evenings and weekends for like one client. And for you, maybe it wasn't late evenings and weekends, maybe it was like full work days, because like by the time you were doing all of this, you had already left corporate. So it was full work days, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, that equated to one client, right? Time that maybe could have been spent more with your kids, or doing more things around the house, or just making everyone else's life better and doing things that you enjoyed. And yeah, so when it came to like every program, it was the same bet. Maybe this is the identity that'll work. And most people didn't frame it that way, but yeah, it was like, maybe this is going to be the identity that will work. It was never like, how do I deploy what I already have? And that's what we want you to really, really get from today's episode. Is you need to, like, if you're driving in a car right now, if you're sitting at your desk, if you're in a cafe, if you're walking in like on a treadmill in the gym or something like that, stop and take inventory. Like, what do I already have? What do I already have? Because like Earl Nightingale, Acre of Diamonds, just go look that up. That one talk right there really, really sums up what we're talking about right now. All right. So if we can go, hundreds of posts, one client, you know, tons of hours, and then it's like over a 10-day span, 75K, and it was from one conversation, and it was talking about Ryan's actual experience, and just asking in the right room, hey, who needs what I already have? Think about that. One conversation that was solely focused on Ryan's actual experience being packaged up into a high ticket program, and just getting into the right room where people needed that. Whether they realized they needed it or not, it's the fact that you did enough. You had enough wherewithal and understanding to see how this would be ideal for them. And when you raised your hand and said, "Hey, does anyone need this?" Multiple people were like, "Hi, hi, yes, I do need that. Like, why is this available now? X, Y, and Z, right?" So, yeah. So if you're sitting here and you're like doing the math on, how much you've spent on programs and courses and masterminds, hours and weekends and all the rest of that stuff, and it kind of makes your stomach turn, just know that you are not alone. Like, I know I've definitely been there. I'm approaching $200,000 in like personal development coaches, courses, programs, things along those lines. Granted, it is over like a 10-year span, but still, it's quite a bit. I don't know what that number is for you, Ryan, but the point is that we've been there, and the way out isn't another investment into someone else's system. I think that that's the biggest thing. We're not saying, hey, don't invest in yourself ever again. Just look within. No, it's like, hey, look, let's not focus on investing in someone else's system as the actual vehicle. So, Ryan, here's what I've always been curious about, man. Every time you bought a new course or you joined a new program, in that moment, like, what were you really telling yourself? Like, was it, this is the one, or was there already a voice in the back of your head saying this is going to end up like the last one?
Honestly, it was both of those things at the same time. As crazy as that sounds, there was this surge of excitement. Like, this is the piece that I've been missing. This person has it figured out. And if I just learn what they know, I'll finally crack the code. And that feeling is addictive because it feels like progress. You hand over the money, and for about 48 hours, you feel like everything's about to change. And it's addictive because it's your body literally releasing a natural drug when you click buy. It's a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
But underneath all of that, yeah, there was this quieter voice saying, "You felt this way about the last one too, and the one before that, and nothing changed." And I just got really good at ignoring that voice. I tell myself, "Well, the last one didn't work because it wasn't the right fit. This one's different." And then 3 weeks in, I'd be back in the same place, watching the modules, not implementing anything, feeling behind, and then starting to look for the next thing once that initial hit had worn off. And what I can see now that I absolutely could not see then is that every time I bought a program, I wasn't really investing in a skill. I was investing in a new identity. Maybe I'm a course creator, maybe I'm a funnel builder, maybe I'm a high ticket closer. And each purchase was really me saying, maybe this is who I'm supposed to become. And that's a very expensive way to avoid the question of who you already are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was good, man. And with that being said, we have a Reddit story that shares a lot of similarities in that. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah, so this Reddit story is titled My Content is Thriving, but My Business is Dying. So this is someone who's built what looks like a successful content machine from the outside, very strong engagement, visible presence, the whole 9 yards. They launched a digital product at $2,000, got 500 engagements, 50 webinar attendees, and exactly one sale. So a 0.2% conversion rate. And now they're losing money and facing closure. So they openly admit that prospects can sense the urgency for cash.
Yeah. So just the I'm not laughing at this person. I'm laughing because there are moments in my career, my journey, where man, this is highly relatable, right? And but the good part is I figured out the solution and everything like that. So one of the first things is you have to fight tooth and nail to stay away from what's called commission breath, because you will lose more sales than ever by being the person that when you talk, you have that undertone of desperation in your voice. So that's first and foremost. The next thing is it said, he launched a $2,000 digital product. So imagine he has a $2,000 course, right? And this course probably has 40 modules in it, right? It's probably 10 hours worth of content. And long story short, how is this course supposed to help these people? Maybe all of his content was related to helping people. And maybe the webinar was, really helpful, or maybe it was too helpful. I never like saying that, but it's like maybe it was that. And then when it came time to buy the actual program, he didn't gauge the overall helpfulness in regards to implementation, right? He just thought, hey, I've been helping these people for free. I got them on a webinar. They watched it and like they got to want this extra information, right? And this is when product pushers come into the actual helping people realm, they usually struggle. So he would have been better off. And I'm not saying that, hey, you should have did this, but people with a product pushing mindset, they usually do better in e-com than they do in actually helping people. Right. But also maybe he might have taken a course that told him how to do this from someone who's a product pusher. So they never taught him how to inject the moments of true helpfulness into everything, into his offer, to be able to have more people say, yes, I want to do this. And especially now, like, information is free. So if you're launching a course around something and you don't have any type of implementation elements associated with it, your conversions are going to suffer. And for the people who do buy it, there's an 80% chance that it's just going to sit on their shelf, their digital Google Drive, after, you know, they make it through about 10% of it. So for this specific person, if they were in the Liftoff Lab, I would want to take inventory of what's all in this course that they have. And I'm willing to bet that we could just bolt on a boot camp where this person was actually helping these people through this, and that would get him to his first 20,000 as far as like revenue goes. And then we could look at dialing in his ICP his actual target audience a lot more, revamping his content strategy, maybe even posting less content, but posting more helpful content. And that dials everything in. So then we could start an actual wait list and have people sign up for the wait list and then get that information out to the people who actually signed up for the wait list, because webinars are long. People would much rather you just tell them exactly what they're about to get and let them make their own decision versus showing up to a 90-minute deal where it's you sharing nuggets, but then you're really spending the next 45 minutes trying to close them on getting started, man. So that's that. I would say, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'd say like this is my story with like different variables. 500 engagements and one sale. I had 500 posts and one client. The math is almost identical. And looking at it from the outside, you'd think both of us were doing great. The content was getting attention, people were engaging, but engagement is not revenue and likes aren't clients. And nobody tells you that until you've already sunk a year of your life into it. So what really stands out to me is that this person is clearly talented in some way at content, because 500 engagements on a webinar launch is not nothing, and they know how to get attention, but they built an audience for a character, and when the character tried to sell something, nobody bought because the audience showed up for the content, not for the expertise behind it. So that's exactly what happened to me. I could get views. I had posts go viral, millions of views on TikTok, but the content had nothing to do with my actual competitive advantage or what made me different, what made me unique. So the people who showed up had no reason to buy from me. They were just there for the entertainment, not for the expertise. And all that time, all that effort, it was invested in the wrong identity.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So the action plan for this is the investment audit. Three steps, as always. Number one, step one is the honest ledger. For every program, course, tool that you've paid for in the last 2 years. And again, when you're doing this, any of our action plans, these are the things that you do. Like you grab a notebook or a quick notepad or pull up notes on your app or something like that. Like take the time to actually do these things, because this is where the hidden opportunities usually are. So again, every program, course, mastermind tool that you've paid for in the last 2 years, um, next to each one, what identity, write it down, what identity it was asking you to become. Was it a content creator, course builder, funnel expert, a life coach, um, a, a community manager? And you also want to ask yourself, were you buying a skill or a costume, right? And just right, like skill, costume, right? Step two is going to be tracking the time. So for the next week, I want you to track um, the hours that you put towards like your overall goal of creating an online business. Put two columns. One is becoming someone new, and then the other one is deploying who I am. And what you'll see is that most people, they're going to have 80% be in column one, and then step three is going to be the one conversation test. And there's a book related to this. It's called The $1,000,000 Weekend. But what you want to do is, even like over this coming up weekend, like ask yourself this question: could I have one conversation this weekend with someone who already needs what I know without buying, learning something else, or creating a new anything? And what you're going to find out is, even if you don't know who that person is, it's like, hey, am I willing to accept the reality that there is someone out there, even in my local area, that needs the skills and expertise that I currently possess? And if the deal makes sense, they'd be willing to pay for them. And I think that if you're honest enough with yourself, you would know that that is an absolute yes. All right. So, again, super quick exercise to be able to do this. But inside Liftoff Lab, these are the things that we help you flesh out in a very, very deep way, because I promise you, every single person, even the super blue collar guy working on some assembly line, everyone has hidden opportunities in who they are, especially if you are 30 plus years old for sure. You've been doing something over this time that you have a competitive advantage with compared to other people. So, a couple of things to kind of bring this home. Peter Drucker said, "Nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which you that that which should not be done at all." I'll say that one more time. Peter Drucker says, "Nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." And this kind of goes into mastering content creation for a misaligned business model. And I would say it's becoming a content creator when you know deep down you don't want to, right? Like for Ryan and I promise you, we would much rather run premium level communities that help people in the way that we're kind of helping people right now. Look at things, looking at creating their online business in a different way, helping them understand part-time money models and things like that, and even having um, a program available that helps them to create their own digital ecosystem so that they can, extract more profit from the market in less hours weekly, right? I would We would much rather do that than, all right, Ryan, we need to pump out 8 pieces of live content on TikTok today. Right. And I know that smile. He's like, you darn tootin', right? Because, like, dude, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it at all. Right. Mark Cuban said, you only have to be right once. And a remix of that is, you only have to hit one financial home run. You only got to hit one. I promise you. I promise you, you only have to hit one. And to drill that in even further, you only have to have one aligned conversation. One aligned conversation could get you in front of 1,000 people, and half of those people could be starving for that expertise or skill that you have. Absolutely. So when it comes to relationships, you'd never spend 2 years becoming who your partner wants and call it healthy. But we do that with business every day, right? And when it comes to your health, if a doctor told you, hey man, you need to go run marathons, but like you came to him because your knees were shot, like you probably fire the doctor and not blame yourself, right? Like, so again, it is super super important to kind of have an understanding of that. So the last area for today is going to be around methods and just overall help. So when it comes to all of this stuff, man. So, after all of that posting, all the programs, all the money, Ryan and I both hit the same wall, whether it was in different areas or whatever, right? It's not just this isn't working. It's like nothing works. Every method I've tried, none of it works for me. And these are the type of statements that I've heard people say when I was coaching them, and we generally know it to be true. The natural next thought around that is like, why would I trust another program every time I've asked for help? It was like either they didn't want to help me, or they said, well, you need to, you know, invest more into this higher level and that gets you more access, right? There's also been things where it was like, I'll figure it out myself. It sounds empowering. If it feels like you're taking control, but it's almost like the blind leading the blind, or like you looking in the mirror in that Spider-Man meme where it's like, like, and I think it was Einstein who said this. He said the same mind or thought process that got you into something basically won't be the one that'll get you out of it, man. So um it's super super important to kind of have that understanding as well. And I want to be super clear about something, especially when it comes to content creation. Like, content creation works, but I would say it's for natural content creators. Like, if there was a client that I had in the past, her name was Erica. Erica loved turning the camera on. She loved it. She loved creating content. She could make no money and she'd be like, "Hey, I'm ready to create more content." Right? So, it's one of those things where it works for natural content creators. Funnels work for people who love funnels and their expertise fits that, right? Um, the overall point is that the method has to match the person. And the right help, when it comes to the right help, is not the same thing as like someone handing you their playbook. The right help actually is someone who helps you to build your playbook from what's already there and true about you. Um, yeah, man. Like this one hits home so much because it's like when I look at all of those previous endeavors, like the method felt easy because it was aligned whether I realized it or not. But even with it being aligned, I still needed help because I couldn't see all of the issues that I had, even if there was some alignment, right? So, you know, if you've been burned before, maybe by a coach, a program, a guru, I think that that's so funny. And whenever I see the word guru, I always look at it GOOROO. You know what I mean? Like guru. So if they've promised results, they've delivered everything on a PDF, like we get it. So we've been on both sides of that. Obviously, me being someone, buying courses and programs, and also being on the inside of 6, 7, and even 8-figure high ticket coaching programs as a closer, as a coach, as a client success manager. It's like you have to understand that none of what goes on in the online space is truly indicative of who you are or how much value you bring. You really have to find that mirror and just look in it and say, hey, I have competitive advantages. There are things out there that align with me, and make the decision to pursue that. Because if every time you do something new, it's because you've seen someone else on YouTube that's offering this new course or program or something like that, but you never stop and take that real look at alignment, then you're going to struggle. So Ryan, let's talk about vehicles for a second, man. You tried, MLMs, you tried real estate, you tried affiliate marketing, master resale rights, content creations. Like that's 5 different methods, man. 5 different identities. When you look back at that list now, what do you see that you couldn't see when you were in it?
When I was in it, I thought I was being strategic, and I thought like each one of those things was a calculated pivot. I would think, okay, that didn't work, but let me try this next thing, this next shiny object. And to me, it felt like problem solving. But as I look back now, it wasn't pivoting strategies. I was trying on costumes. Every vehicle came with a whole identity attached to it. When I tried MLMs, I was trying to be a network marketer. With real estate, I was trying to be an agent. Content creation, I was trying to be an influencer. And none of those things were me, not even close, even though, similar to you, there were elements of each of those things that aligned with my strengths. But when you took a step back and looked at it from the 30,000-foot view, it should have been obvious that it was not what I really wanted. So, and the pattern that I can see now that I could not absolutely not see from inside of all of that was that every single one of those vehicles was someone else's answer to a question that I hadn't even asked myself yet. I never once sat down and I said, "What am I actually good at? What have I what do I have 20 years of experience doing, and who actually needs that?" I just kept looking at what was working for other people and trying to force myself to fit into their model. So the shift that produced the 75K wasn't vehicle number 6. It was for the first time I ever stopped looking outward and started taking inventory of what was already there. LD didn't hand me a new method. Even though he admitted it took him longer than it probably should have, he asked me questions. What did you actually do at Verizon? Who relied on you? And what comes naturally to you that's hard for other people? And the answer to those questions was my business. It had been there. It had been the business the whole time. I just couldn't see it because I was too busy trying to be somebody else.
Yep, absolutely, man. And let's hop into the Reddit story where someone else is going through this, but they don't have those answers. So we can see if we can help them out.
Yeah, so the title of this Reddit story, it says it all. I am so burnt out. So this is an entrepreneur in a full spiral. They had multiple ventures running. They signed a 5-year lease. They have worked with coaches. They've joined masterminds. And here's the line in this post that stopped me: the coaches and masterminds don't help because you know everything, and maybe you just don't go to them to prove yourself that you know everything. So um, this person has tried the help, they've tried the methods, and they've concluded that none of it works.
Got you. Okay. So the immediate thing that sticks out to me, just knee jerk, is this person needs two things. They need high level accountability, like they need an accountability coach that holds them, you know, accountable to doing the things that they say aren't working, for them to get a true valid answer on whether those things work or not. Because if you're saying content creation doesn't work, may not work for you, right? If you're saying writing a really good sales page does not equate to like sales being made, mm, I don't know, right? um I think that the other part of this is this person would also need to kind of look at the programs that he's invested in, and to what degree do they have an implementation component. Because this sounds textbook, like they see this notable person in the market that has a lot of social proof and a bunch of testimonials and stuff, and they join that program, and then they get assigned to a coach that is nowhere near the skill level of the person that got them in the program, and they're really frustrated about that, right? um so yeah, it's like if they were in Liftoff Lab, I would want them to, commit to being a part of the weekly sprints for the next 8 weeks, right? And honestly, I would even like I would make it 12 weeks, because we're going to need to get them out of the mindset that they're in. We're going to need to build up some votes in the right direction. And that's not speaking about this person not being capable. I feel like they're really capable, but I've done thousands of coaching calls where it's with people like this, where they need someone to call them out in a quality way, right? They need someone to call them out in a quality way. All right, you wrote that sales page, but did you really write it? Or did you just give everything to Chat GPT, not Claude, but Chat GPT, and say, hey, give me a sales page, because you're following some template from someone who said comment the word page and they will send you their sales page template. You took that over to Chat GPT, which is the worst creative writing tool out there, out of all of the platforms, in my personal opinion. Please don't, come for me. But yeah, it's like, if you consider that as you executing on it, then yeah, like I wouldn't accept it. I know Ryan wouldn't. And like he's not even big into copywriting, but there's a process, right? So it's like this person just needs to be held accountable. And I'd want to take inventory of what exactly they're good at and what competitive advantages do they have, because I'm willing to bet that they also are just chasing money. That people who talk like that, they usually are like, hey, show me the money. That's what matters. If you're not making money, then you can't coach me. If you're not doing this, then that doesn't matter. It's like, whatever I'm doing, it needs to be making money. And it's like, well, I get that. But the reality of it is there are shifts that you need to make, that the people that are making the big bucks, the ones that you only listen to, they didn't need to make those shifts, so they can't even coach you through it. And if you wanted them to try and coach you through it, you need to be a part of their inner circle, which is going to cost you 20, 30, $50,000. And you're already burned out on investing in programs anyway. So again, it's not arrogance. I can see clearly that they do know a lot, but it's going to be about accountability, being held to the fire of actually executing on things and being a part of high level sprints where it's like they're going to need to be dialed in over a 4, 8, 12 week period. But the kicker is because they already know all of this stuff, getting them dialed in, they could come out on the other side of the 12 weeks being at, 15 to 20,000 dollars a month in monthly recurring revenue with probably 60 to 80% profit margins, and they have a completely different outlook because they had someone in their corner telling them to go look in the mirror as they were calling them out on their BS. So, Ryan, what do you see in this story, man?
Yeah, I mean, I felt the exact same way that that he describes feeling. I mean, after 14 months in multiple programs, I was completely done trusting anybody else's advice because every coach, every guru, every program, it all starts to feel the same after a while. It's like you get a few modules or a few calls into it, and you're like, "This is I've already seen this. It's just packaged in a different way." Somebody handed me their playbook and saying, "Do what I did," and then I walk out thinking, like, "I already know this stuff. Why isn't this already working for me?" In the other ways that I've already consumed it. And my conclusion was the same as this person's. It's like you go for after a certain period of time, you're just like, forget all of it. I'm just going to figure it out myself. Nobody can help me. And here's the thing, that conclusion feels empowering for a few minutes. And it felt like I was finally taking control. But it was actually the most stuck that I've ever been because the reason nothing was working wasn't that the coaches were bad or that the information was wrong. It was that every single form of help I'd received was trying to make me into someone I wasn't. And they were giving me their map, but my territory was completely different. So, and I'll say it again, what changed, and this is where LD deserves all of the credit, is uh, when we started working together, and um, he has a way about coaching it, so he didn't try to teach me anything. He didn't hand me a playbook and say, "Copy this." Uh, he has a way of like having you come to your own conclusions about it. So that worked very well. Well, we were following the curriculum or the roadmap in the coaching program, but then he, like he said before, he finally asked questions and he wanted to know what I'd done before. So that completely felt different from every other program that I'd been in, because for the first time, no, there wasn't someone trying to change me. They were trying to uncover what was already there. And that's the difference between the wrong help and the right help. So I would tell this person, and I'd tell anyone watching that feels the same way, don't give up on help. Give up on help that's trying to turn you into a clone. The right person won't hand you their playbook. They will help you build your own.
Bingo. And I love that, man. I really, really do, because when you pair what I said with what you just said, it's right. And for me, like, that translates. And whenever I speak about high level accountability, I'm talking about, like, and I'm not saying, hey, person, come work with me, but it's like, what I see as high level accountability. It's like, we're only doing things that align with your competitive advantage. And the things that you're weak at, we're going to get strong, or we're going to put a system in place so that you don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? So, and like you said, asking those questions and getting things to the place where it's like, hey, um, I came to this conclusion based on LD asking me these crazy questions with a smile on his face. So, as far as an action plan goes, man, I think that it really, really comes down to three steps: the vehicle graveyard, um, looking at the things that you've done in the past. And I don't know if you see the pattern here, if you're watching or listening. It's the majority of the action plans are all rooted in reflection. It's all about you going back and taking inventory. Because if we can convince you to just stop, grab a notebook, and take inventory of what your past looked like, what's currently inside of you, and everything like that, then it's good to go. So, again, step one is asking yourself this: did this vehicle, did this opportunity or this endeavor fail because I didn't execute, or because it was never built for someone like me? Right? For most people, it's going to be the second one, way more often than you think. Step two, is going to be the outside eye test. Think about one person who knows you professionally and ask them, like, what do people come to me for? What seems effortless to me but harder for others? And Ryan talked about that earlier. And what you're really looking for here is you're looking for the things that you can't see. And if their answer surprises you, then you definitely want to pay attention. And step three is going to be the alignment filter. And it's like, ask yourself these three questions. When I'm looking at this next method, this next, opportunity or endeavor, does it use skills that I already have? Does this fit my actual life constraints? And would people who trust me recognize this as something I'd actually and naturally offer? If that's three yeses, then it aligns. If not, then it does not align. And when we look back at those 5 or 6 endeavors that I had, I can remember going to Starbucks and ordering a doppio espresso with one honey, a venti water with no ice, and a cinnamon raisin bagel, because that was the place. Starbucks was a place that I would go and write these things down and change my life. And I didn't even realize it until like right now. It's like, but every single new endeavor or new opportunity, it was me going to Starbucks, ordering that same thing. It usually came out to about $5.74 or something like that. And I would write those questions, and then I would basically go off into the new endeavor overall. So yeah, it's awesome, awesome stuff. A couple of things. Bob Proctor, he said a mentor sees more talent in you than you see in yourself. The wrong help will the wrong help teaches their way. The right help brings out your way. Right? The wrong help teaches their way of doing things, and the right help brings out your way of doing things. The doctor, speaking of doctors, doctors don't diagnose themselves, not because they're not smart, but it's because they're too close. All right. And Ryan had 20 years and he couldn't necessarily see it. For me, like, I didn't realize that helping people in this capacity was what I um, had a competitive advantage in. Like, I can even look back to childhood and think about when there were fights or scuffles or disagreements. I was the one who always broke it up. And it wasn't because I was bigger. I just had this way of helping people agree or at least stop fighting. You know what I mean? So, um, the last one is a super quick story. Is the town hired an expensive builder, right? And instead of building, this amazing bridge, he told them move the road 100 yards south because there's a natural crossing right down there. And the people in that town, they lived there for decades, but they never saw it. So that outside perspective just pointed at what was already there. All right. So to kind of bring this thing home, um, we walk through three big shifts and they all connect. All right. So shift number one is identity. Nothing was working because we were trying to become people we weren't. Ryan had 20 years, was acting like a beginner. But the day that he stopped doing that, like, everything opened up for him. Shift number two is time and money. Every dollar an hour was an investment into someone else's identity. Most people, excuse me, the most profitable thing that Ryan ever did cost a fraction, right? Like, realistically, think about it. Like, when we put that together, it's laughable how much it costs in relation to what ended up coming out of it, man. So, um, shift number three is method and help, and methods aren't universal. The right method matches who you already are. The right help, it doesn't change you; it uncovers you. So, step number one, be sure to take the quiz. The link is in the description. It'll take you 2 minutes. Um, do the identity inventory, ask those questions like what people already come to you for, find those patterns. Number three is do the investment audit. Where has time and money gone? Has it gone into becoming someone new versus deploying who you already are? And obviously, shameless plug, Click the link in the description to check out the quizzes and the wait list, because I promise you this won't be another course. This is literally a system to help you discover your competitive advantages and deploy them in a way and with a trajectory that puts you with a trajectory where 20,000 a month in 20 hours a week or less is the worst it'll be, right? That's our entire goal with these episodes, with Liftoff Lab. When we open it up, it's like just helping you to discover the competitive advantages and deploy them in a way that aligns not just with who you are, but also with what you ultimately want, because that's what really matters. So the link is in the description for all of those things. Sorry, I'm gonna pass it off to you, Ryan.
All right, let me run through what we just covered really quickly. So, first, you don't need to become someone new. We both tried it and it got us 500 posts and one client. Number two, imposter syndrome isn't proof that you're not ready. It's proof that you've been following someone else's blueprint. Number three, every course, every program, every guru, they're not they are selling you their identity, not yours. So that's why the ROI never shows up. Number four, 14 months of content creation and thousands in programs couldn't do what one aligned conversation did in 10 days. Number five, the right help doesn't try to make you into a clone. It tries to uncover what's already there. Number six, your expertise isn't what's holding you back. It's the fact that nobody's ever shown you how to deploy it. And number seven, the 75K didn't come from a new skill. It came from the skills I had for 20 years. I just finally stopped hiding from them.
Mm.
So if anything we said today made you stop and think that sounds like me, do two things. I know Ladon already said it, but first, take the quiz. It's free. It's 2 minutes. It starts the process of showing you where your alignment is and where the gap might be. Again, the link is in the description. And second, if you want to go deeper, join the waitlist for Liftoff Lab. This is not another course. Again, as LD said, uh, we built this because we lived everything we just talked about, and we built the thing that we wish we both had from the beginning. So the waitlist gets you first access, and we'll be in touch with exactly what's inside and how it works. That link's in the description too. And if you got value from this, please subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. You probably know exactly who that person is.
Yeah. So here's what I want to leave you guys with. This has been a great day of many TED Talks, rants, and rips. But if at any point you thought maybe I'm just not cut out for this, again, it's not a diagnosis. It's just a symptom. It's a symptom of trying to build someone else's business with your life. You have something. I promise you, every single person, especially in the Western world, every single person, if you are, I would even say 25, like if you're above the age of 25, you have a competitive advantage in something. You've always had something, but you've never really focused, or no one's ever told you to focus on what your competitive advantage is, right? The world keeps telling you to look somewhere else for the answer, but the answer might already be in the room. I'm telling you right now, the freaking answer is in the room. And maybe it's just getting around people like us to be able to help you figure out what that answer is, what that competitive advantage is, and help you build out at least a market penetration offer so that you can go get the first or next $20,000 that's in the market from people who are going to be super excited to not just see you coming, work with you, pay you, and pay you even more, because they know that when they pay you, the ROI is absolutely there. So you just need the right person to point it out and put you on a quality trajectory that once you're off to the races, you can kind of take over from there, man. So we'll see you next time.
Yep. And speaking of next time, in the next episode, we're going deep on the money side, the financial architecture of building on part time hours, how I went from inconsistent revenue to knowing exactly what a consistent 20K month looks like, and why the number you're chasing might not even be